Welcome back. The news in details. President Abdel Fattah AlSissi met on Monday with visiting Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas. During the talks, President AlSissi said that the Palestinian cause will remain a priority in Egypt's foreign policy, adding that Egypt has a constant stance and is fully supportive of the Palestinian choices towards the peaceful political settlement for the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. President AlSissi also stressed that Egypt continues efforts to ensure that Palestinians restore their rights as stipulated under relevant international resolutions. He noted that Egypt's efforts aim at maintaining Palestinian stability and security. AlSissi also said that Arab efforts must continue to resume Palestinian-Israeli peace talks. For his part, Abbas expressed appreciation for Egypt's efforts and its constant historic stances in support of the Palestinian cause. Abbas said he is keen on consultations with President AlSissi on developments in the Palestinian issue. Earlier, the visiting Palestinian president met with Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry as part of his ongoing visit to Egypt. The talks covered the latest developments in the Palestinian cause. They agreed on the need to resume serious peace talks between Palestinians and Israelis with the aim of reaching a just and comprehensive peace deal. They also reiterated the Palestinians' right to establish an independent state on the 1967 borders with East Jerusalem as its capital. Abbas also met with Arab League Secretary General Ahmed Abul Ghait. The talks covered plans for future moves on the Palestinian cause after recent developments, on top of which the results of the American presidential elections. They agreed that a new U.S. administration would pave the way for Washington to restore a more active and positive role in the path of the two-state solution. Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouly held a meeting on Monday to review the national strategy for population, which aims at controlling the population growth. The Premier said that the meeting tackled the steps taken to implement the national strategy for population and how to limit the negative effect of the high rate of population growth, which exceeds the development rates. Controlling the population growth rates would guarantee a better standard of living for Egyptian families, especially in the fields of education and health, which are affected by the high birth rates. Madbouly ordered the increase of a number of women being trained to be employed in small projects. He said that 500,000 job opportunities are to be created for those women. Madbouly said that the state will provide family planning services to all women for free. Madbouly called for speeding up the process of drawing up a comprehensive demonstration of the family planning strategy and steps for its implementation to be submitted to President Abdel Fattah AlSissi ahead of launching it next year. The National Election Authority announced on Monday the final results of the runoff round of the first stage of the parliamentary elections. The NEA said that it had received results of the general committees from all governorates included in the first stage in which the runoff round was held. It said that it dealt with a number of appeals regarding the voting process and the counting of the votes. The runoff round of the second phase of the parliamentary election is due to be held on the 7th and 8th of December. Within the framework of mutual judicial cooperation and continuous dialogue between Egyptian Prosecution Office and Italian Republican Prosecution over the past few years, each team presented all information over the Italian student Giulio Regini incident to the other team. Both prosecution concluded. First, Rome's public prosecution announced its intention to end investigation in the incident with their suspicion in 5 personals affiliated to security authorities who dealt individually with no connection to any of the governmental institutions and presented their suspicion, according to the Italian judicial procedures, to the Italian judiciary to evaluate the case and take the necessary measures. The Egyptian public prosecutor said that despite its acknowledging and appreciating the Italian legal procedures, it has reservation on the suspicion and dismisses the suspicions as built on no concrete evidence, and asserts its understanding to any independent decision that will be taken by the Italian prosecution. Egypt's public prosecutor said the person who killed Regini in Cairo in 2016 was still unknown, and the organization's file on the murder would be temporarily closed. Investigative authorities will continue the search for the killer, according to a statement that the prosecutor said was made jointly with Italian authorities, and that Rome's prosecution understands the decision of the Egyptian public prosecution and that both will be committed to their continued judiciary cooperation. The World Health Organization's top emergency experts said on Monday that the world risked future pandemics if it suffered amnesia and did not learn from the current coronavirus crisis. Mike Ryan said if the world continues to ignore the realities of what emerging and dangerous pathogens could do to civilization, like it did after SARS, H5N1 and H1N1 pandemic, then humans are likely to experience the same or worse again within their lifetimes.
The World Health Organization insisted on Monday it would be everything possible to find the animal origins of COVID-19, insisting that knowledge was vital to preventing future outbreaks. WHO chief insisted the UN Health Agency was intent on getting to the bottom of the mystery and urged critics who have accused it of handing the reins of the probe to China to stop politicizing the issue. The United States, which with more than 262,000 deaths is the country hardest hit by the pandemic, has been harshly critical of the WHO's handling of the crisis and has accused it of kowtowing to China and of dragging its feet on investigating how the outbreak first started. Other critics have also voiced concern that the agency may have allowed China to dictate the terms of an international investigation into the origins of the virus, which first surfaced in the Chinese city of Wuhan late last year. Since then, more than 1.46 million people have died and nearly 63 million have been infected worldwide. The WHO has for months been working to send a team of international experts, including epidemiologists and animal health specialists, to China to help probe the animal origin of the novel coronavirus pandemic, and now the virus first crossed over to humans.
Rivals from war-torn Libya started a new round of talks in Morocco on Monday as part of stepped-up efforts to bring an end to a decade of conflict. The 2 days of talks in the northern port city of Tangier brings together 13 representatives, each from Libya's House of Representatives and Supreme State Council, according to the participants. Libya has been mired in violence since the 2011 fall of longtime dictator Muammar Gaddafi in a NATO-backed uprising with an array of armed groups and two administrations vying for power. The UN-recognized government of National Accord dominates Tripoli and the West, while an Eastern administration is backed by part of the HOR elected in 2014, along with military chief Khalifa Haftar. Syria and Russia face renewed pressure over allegations of chemical weapons use as member countries of the global toxic arms watchdog met on Monday. Moscow was urged by Western nations to transparently reveal the circumstances of the Novichok nerve agent poisoning of opposition figure Alexei Navalny. Damascus, meanwhile, faced calls for sanctions at the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons after investigators accused the Syrian regime of sarin attacks in 2017. Russia and Syria have repeatedly denied the accusations, alleging that Western powers have politicized the Hague-based OPCW. France proposed that the OPCW should suspend the rights and privileges of Syria for failing to meet the deadline. French Ambassador Louis Vassy said, adding that the proposal was backed by 43 states. These would include Syria's voting rights in the OPCW, depriving it of a voice at a body where it has been deflecting allegations of toxic arms use for years. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo on Monday urged Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed to end fighting, voicing concern as a military offensive pursued the Tigray region's dissident leaders. Pompeo, in a phone call with Abiy, called for a complete end to the fighting and constructive dialogue to resolve the crisis.
Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed said Monday the Tigray region's dissident leaders had fled west of the regional capital after weeks of fighting, but indicated that federal forces were monitoring them closely and would attack them soon. Abiy, winner of last year's Nobel Peace Prize, this month ordered military operations against leaders of Tigray's ruling party, the Tigray People Liberation Front (TPLF), in response to what he said were TPLF organized attacks on Ethiopian Federal Army camps. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo spoke to the Ethiopian leader Monday, urging him to end fighting that has left thousands dead in the northern region and promoted tens of thousands to flee across the border into Sudan. Abiy said Saturday the military operations were completed after federal forces claimed control of the Tigray regional capital Mekelle. The TPLF leaders have repeatedly vowed to fight on, though their exact whereabouts remain unknown. In a phone call with Abiy, Pompeo called for a complete end to the fighting and constructive dialogue to resolve the crisis. The top U.S. diplomat noted Abiy's declaration that major operations were finished, but reiterated the United States' grave concern regarding ongoing hostilities and the risks the conflict poses.
Iran said that Israel and an exiled opposition group used new and complex methods to assassinate its leading nuclear scientist as it buried him on Monday in a funeral befitting a top martyr.
Iran said that Israel and an exiled opposition group used new and complex methods to assassinate its leader's nuclear scientist as it buried him Monday in a funeral befitting a top martyr. As late Mohsen Fakhrizadeh, seen by Israel as the father of Iran's nuclear weapons program, to rest, the Islamic Republic also vowed to redouble his work. Fakhrizadeh died Friday after his car and bodyguards were targeted in a bomb and gun attack on a major road outside the capital, heightening tensions once more between Tehran and its foes. Iran's top security official, Rear Admiral Ali Shamkhani of the Supreme National Security Council, said the operation was very complex, using electronic equipment, and no one was present at the scene. He said in video interviews that the People's Mujahideen of Iran, MEK, were certainly involved along with the Zionist regime and the Mossad, referring to the Israeli government and its spy agency. With few details emerging of the attack itself, the scientist's son said his mother was also in the targeted car but survived the attack.
These were all the political news, and now it's time for the economic updates, and these are the headlines.